Okay. Relevant costs. Okay, so here's all the information that that's up on the board right now. Okay. So to really understand the overall costs, we need to understand the reoccurring costs for the next 5 years, as well as the initial cost. So the initial cost for equipment A is $10,000. Sorry, I'm gonna reformat these to be dollars because I can't tell what number I'm writing down. The initial installation is $225. The initial training is $500 for a total first year cost of, we just add them all up, of $10,725. So that's the amount of money that you're going to be spending in the first year if you buy equipment A. However, we are also going to have some reoccurring costs over the next 5 years. This is the cost of maintenance, the cost of forms, whatever that is. We subtract a residual value for the total, and the reason we subtract the residual value is because that's benefit we're going to get from selling the machine. And then we add them all up to get the total reoccurring costs. So our maintenance cost is $400 per year for 5 years, is $2,000 over 5 years. Our cost of forms is $650 a year times 5 years, and we get $3,250. Our residual value for machine A is $10,000, so we put that in here, $10,000, or sorry, $1,000, for a total reoccurring cost of the maintenance plus the cost of forms minus the residual value. We have a total reoccurring cost of $4,250 over the course of the next 5 years. So if we add our initial costs plus our total reoccurring costs, we get a total overall cost of $14,975. So now if we're going to do the exact same for equipment B. We put in the initial cost, the cost of the initial installation, the initial training, in this case it was $450, and we add it all up for our total first year costs. So in our first year, we'll be spending $8,650 on equipment B, which at face value is cheaper than equipment A. If we take, next we're going to calculate the cost of maintenance. If the cost of maintenance is $300 per year times 5 years, we get a total maintenance cost of $1,500. The cost of forms is $750 multiplied by 5 years. And the residual value in this case is, where is it? $800. So we get a total reoccurring cost of the maintenance plus the cost of forms minus the residual value. We get $4,450 over the course of the next 5 years. So if we add up the initial cost and the reoccurring costs, we get $13,100. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, have at it. Hope you like accounting. So as we look at it right now, we got equipment A, we got equipment B. Equipment A seems to be more expensive, or has a higher total cost over the next 5 years when compared to equipment B. So in this case, we would select equipment B because it's the cheapest. Does anybody have any questions? Total overall cost is the initial cost plus the total reoccurring costs. Yeah. Okay. Now there's another way to do it. You're going to get the exact same answer. However, if depreciation is allocating cost over the course of an asset's useful life, we must take depreciation into account. Okay, so I'm just going to copy. So we're going to look at the alternate method here. I'm literally just going to copy and paste some of this information because I don't want to type it out anymore. There we go. So in the first year, with the alternative method, we do not consider the upfront purchase cost of the equipment, because using depreciation, that cost is allocated over the course of that asset's useful life. So the only cost we consider in the first year is the installation and training cost. Paste. Okay. For a total first year cost, I guess I could have just added them together really quickly, of $725 for A and $650 for equipment B. So we're just looking at the initial setup and the initial training. Next is we have to look at the reoccurring costs. Now, because depreciation is a reoccurring cost, that's where we consider, this is where we put depreciation in, is the reoccurring costs over the 5 years. So the depreciation, over the course of those 5 years, we are going to be depreciating the, not the book value, the value of that asset minus its residual value. Because our depreciable amount of that asset is the value of that asset minus the residual value. That's how we calculate depreciation. And if we're depreciating it over 5 years, then we should have fully depreciated that asset over the course of that time. So the amount of the total depreciation is equal to the value of that asset minus its residual value. So for equipment A, it cost us $10,000. That's $10,000, and the residual value was $1,000. Is that right? The residual value 10. Yeah. So our total depreciation at the end of the 5th year, it will equal $9,000. The cost of maintenance and the cost of forms all stay the same. So I'm just going to plug those in here. And we'll whoa. Okay, so we won't do it like that. Cost of maintenance was $2,000, stays the same. Our cost of forms was $3,250. So our total reoccurring costs for our depreciation, our maintenance, our cost of forms for $14,250. And if we take our first year costs, add them to our total reoccurring, we should get the same number, and we do. Under both methods, for equipment A, the total overall costs for the 5 years is $14,975. If we do the same thing for equipment B here, we had a cash cost of $8,000 and a residual value of $800. So if we take 8,000, 1, 2, 3, minus the residual value of $800, we get a total depreciation amount of $7,200 over the course of that 5 years. Our maintenance does not change, so it's $1,500. Cost of forms do not change. So our total reoccurring costs are the depreciation plus the cost of forms and the cost of maintenance. So we get $12,450 in reoccurring costs. If we add our initial costs, we get a total overall cost of $13,100. And again, you'll notice that that total overall cost is the same between the first method and the second method. The only difference between the two is how we look at capital expenditure. Are we looking at capital expenditure as a cash cost, or are we looking at it as a cost that can be distributed over future periods? In terms of which one you should be using, it's really up to you. It depends on which one you find simpler. If you find the first one easier, and I think that most people would, because it's easier to understand from a cost perspective. In the first year, you're spending 10 grand. That is logical, you know. Then the first one might be easier for you. However, if you have if like depreciation is like melded in here really well, then the second alternative might be the one you use. But it's up to you.
And like the difference in quality between, you know, different manufacturers could really affect depreciation.
Absolutely, absolutely, it could. The quality could also affect from different manufacturers. Could affect the training. Could also affect the maintenance. Huge on the maintenance. And it might be hard to project maintenance costs, because in the first year you're not going to be, you shouldn't have to pay any maintenance costs because it's a brand new piece of equipment. However, you could logically conclude that the amount of maintenance that you're paying on the machine would increase over time. For instance, you're not going to be paying any maintenance fees in the first year. You'd be paying a lot more in the fifth year because the machine is 5 years old, right? So you could look at it that way as well. This method is to be used when you're holding all other things constant and you're only focusing on cost. So you assume by using this method that the quality of the machines are the same, or are within a level that you can reasonably accept that they're similar, and that have a similar quality output. So if you're deciding between two slicers, to use these methods of deciding which slicer to buy, both slicers in your mind are of equal quality, so they're not just going to break on you, and they all produce a nice clean slice equally. So now this decision is strictly based on cost. Okay. But yeah, so in reality, we do consider other things. Otherwise, you're kind of blindsiding yourself. Yeah. So this is a decision among very comparable pieces of equipment. All right. You know what? We'll give you guys a break. Let's say be back for 10:35. Actually, we'll say 10:40. I'll give you guys 15 minutes or so.
This whole example of, well, eliminating in a department, the big contributing department, is completely the reason why my business failed.
Oh no.
Because we brought in a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a successful restaurant that they closed, and they wanted to help us. And they were like, you got to eliminate the retail department, because it's just it was lower margin, but it was a real constant. Yeah. And low labor.
Yeah.
So we eliminated that, and we figured we'd make it up with more restaurant sales, but it eliminated this 30% of our sales mix.
Yeah.
And we couldn't make up that difference.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and I feel like a lot of people tend to have that view, is they're like, oh, we're losing money, let's just get rid of it, because making no money is better than losing $1. You know what I mean? So people look at it that way, but not tend to understand that if you're covering your variable costs and still contributing a little bit towards the fixed cost and the profit, even though it's not profit, you're still contributing towards fixed.
Yeah.
That's still a positive thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
If you were comparing, if you had a retail department and another department, and both were okay, well, as long as they're both contributing, it's fine.
Yeah.
You have to work on the efficiency, not necessarily closing down a section.
Well, the thing was that there were challenges to running both simultaneously, like running a restaurant with a retail department in the back has its challenges, especially during
totally.
a busy brunch, and someone comes in and they're like, I want like a pound of bacon, and you're like, look, lady, like, where's lamb
Call
right now?
ahead next time.
But there would have been ways that we could have, yeah, tweaked it to make them work better, communicated to our customers. Maybe like, you're gonna have to wait 10 minutes, like,
Yeah.
for
Or have like a
retail.
website where you could like make orders and stuff.
Yeah,
Because that's what happened to us too. Like people would come in and they'd be like, we had the same issue. We didn't have a retail department, but they'd be like, we want a pie. It's like, well, we sell pie. We don't typically sell it by the pie.
yeah,
And they're like, well, or they come in, they want to buy our Caesar dressing because we make it in house. And they're like, yeah, we want like 4 liters of your Caesar dressing. It's like, I don't have 4 liters of it. I can't give it to you.
yeah.
Like, well, why not? And then, and stuff like that. So if we had like an ordering system or something like that, that would have helped us.
Mm-hmm.
Because it happened a lot. And it was stupid because when people come in, like asking for outrageous stuff like that with my restaurant, I was able like, yeah, that pie is $20. Yep, that pie is $40.
Mm.
I'm charging you by the slice for that pie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that sucks to hear because that's something that's a mistake a consultant shouldn't be making.
It was a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't really making money, but it really sunk us. And we did it in winter time, and suddenly just our sales just like tanked.
Probably the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what was the main killer? Like like that was obviously not good, but what was the main issue with like what'd you bring them in? Was it like your efficiencies? Was it?
We wanted to break the impression. We wanted to break more into a dinner crowd. Okay. We were very much like lunch and retail and coffee, and people didn't get a year after getting our liquor license because we didn't have it right from the get-go.
Yeah.
People in the neighborhood still had a really fixed impression of us.
Yeah.
And we wanted to evolve that.
Yeah.
So we brought in a new look. We like really, retweaked our bar service, and we eliminated the retail to make it really clear. That was the idea. It was
get rid of it so you can focus on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in that, we lost a lot of our base customers who were just like, well, I would come in here to buy some cheese. Like people liked it. They were like, oh, cool. I just had lunch. I just had this awesome charcuterie platter. I'm going to spend an extra $40 at the cheese counter.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, that's an easy $40 for us.
Totally.
It's like, here you go. Here's your slice of the cheese later. A lower margin because you're not doing the same markup.
No, but still, it's key, right?
The labor is like, I ordered cheese. I put it in fridge.
Yeah. And I give to guest and take money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and so we had a captive audience for our retail.
Yeah.
And we wanted, so if we just kind of tweaked it, like I think it would have been probably still in business. Yeah. Although I probably wouldn't be so burned out, it would have gone crazy by this point.
Yeah. I feel like we've all done that one sometimes. How your day is going? Well, I have free around noon. We'll work well. was I? Oh yeah. Oh, I got a career prep class today.
What?
I've got a career prep class today. But not that bad. It's just talking about very common sense things.